Hello, all, and welcome. My name is Ayana Wallace View, and I'm a training and technical assistance manager with Ujima. Ujima is the National Center on Violence Against Women in the Black Community. And welcome to another episode of our Ujima Talk series. This month, focusing on Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month, which is February. These 101 Ujima Talk conversations will offer insights and highlight how dating violence shows up in the lives of Black teens and youth and explore and support the ways in which we can help survivors stay safe, empowered, and connected. These recorded conversations will be available on YouTube and will provide culturally specific strategies and resources, empowering our youth with knowledge, tools, and a sense of community as we face these issues together. I have the pleasure of introducing Ruth Garcia, who's a rising advocate and member of Ujima's Teen and Youth Engagement Advisory Group. Ruth holds a Bachelor's of Arts in Global Studies with a minor in film and video production. Her experience includes community engagement and domestic violence advocacy within nonprofit settings, alongside advocacy for minority students in higher education, focused on access, equality, and student safety. She's supported campus-based initiatives through resident assistant programming, safety education, and community building efforts. Ruth brings a thoughtful, interdisciplinary approach grounded in intention, care, and community accountability. Thanks for joining us, Ruth. Alrighty. Yes.
Happy to be here.
Thank you, thank you. So let's jump into questions. Are we good with that?
Perfect.
All right. So first question, what drew you into domestic violence work and specifically working with teens and youth?
What specifically drew me to domestic violence work and especially working with teen and youth, it was like something I reflected on after our conversation in the panel yesterday. At first, I said that it originally started from college, but even like when I reflected back, I remember this moment in my 10th grade year where we had to pause the whole week because there was an incident where there was a sexual violence incident with one of our classmates. And I
Hmm.
remember that our teachers kind of divided the girls and the boys and kind of ran us through like what sexual assault is and coercion and yes and no basically of consent. And I just remember in that time period, um, a lot of my classmates and a lot of my friends felt like voicing that they felt uncomfortable. They felt as if they were getting penalized by the boys in our class because they was just like, oh, it was just like one of those things. They got mad and they got aggressive, and it was just like, all right, if you don't feel if you don't feel comfortable with me talking to you or touching you that way, I'm just gonna revoke all access to
Hmm.
like you have to me at all. And that's not what they were necessarily saying, but they were just saying like, boundaries and comfortability. So just like young girls, even myself included, navigating that and, not really understanding why like setting boundaries was like giving us a negative response. It made
Hmm.
me want to understand more about like advocacy and, domestic violence and sexual assault and even dive deeper into that in my young adulthood and even in my undergrad, which led to the pursuit of me becoming an RA and being an advocate on campus to and supporting Title IX initiatives and whatnot.
That's really interesting that you talk about like fail the girls in your class feeling like they're facing backlash for starting to establish boundaries. That's definitely like a type of messaging that we get from community often. What other types of messaging did you receive growing up about relationships, love, or violence, whether that was from your family, community, or things like social media?
I feel like the messages I received was just that, you know, finding love was the goal and that was the only goal that there could be in a relationship. Like, just finding that person. And, I just saw the positive aspects
Hmm.
um or like the end goal of like relationships. I never really understood like the foundations of like what it is to build like a good relationship or what it is to, you know, have a bond or connection. You just see like the positive outlets. With that being said, when I circle back to the aspects of relationships that I thought were positive was just the image of it. It was
Mm,
just the image. It wasn't like the true ins and out of a relationship. Even like with couples that I was watching on YouTube and whatnot, years later you found out that was like an abusive relationship.
yeah.
You didn't really truly know like what was going on because it was just like picture perfect on the outside. So like a lot of my perception on love was just like this like oh like this is love is all happy and butterflies and rainbows and da da da, but I
Hmm.
never truly even like understood the concept of like building a relationship, the ins and outs. Something that may seem like, you know, picture perfect may not always be what it seems. So I saw a lot of that growing up.
Hmm. Um, I'm thinking of resources that would have been available. Did you feel like you knew about resources for dating or domestic violence? Like if you knew a friend going through it, would you have known where to go to help her?
The only resources I know available was counseling within my school districts. I
Hmm.
didn't know anything, especially for teens beyond that. What I was always told, like if anything happens, was to tell an adult, tell a figure of authority, and that was that. I never really seen, you know, even the subtle hints of like domestic violence that I noticed around me really be addressed until it got to a point where, you know, it was pornography and like the police had to get involved, or like even like something that, you know, authority at the time seen as severely criminal. I wouldn't really see like, you know, real action take place.
Hmm.
So no.
Um, yeah, because I mean, I was thinking about even me growing up. I don't think I would have really known about a lot of resources outside of like, yeah, the school counselor, and even still, I wouldn't have gone to my school counselor. So really making sure that teens know what resources are available, they feel connected to the resources, they feel like they're relevant. I think that is all really important, and sometimes people forget like you have to have those different components as well, not just having something available to people has to actually reach them. Yeah. Um, what are your thoughts on the type of prevention that you and your peers received growing up?
Referencing back to like the sexual assault like prevention that they were doing in my 10th grade year, it was just something that multiple girls in my class came up and spoke about this, and then we finally had an intervention as to like, you
Mm,
know, somebody, adult seeing and intervening at the time that was happening. I noticed a lot that they didn't intervene until it became a big thing, which, you know, and even I noticed like a lot of adults like kind of turned their eye away and just like minimized it to like, oh, kids are just being kids. So, you know,
mm,
that's how it is now. As to like, you know, now our generation is like more outspoken about like the wrongs that are happening compared to back then. I didn't really see like a uproar of like, you know, people like standing up for women and standing up for young girls, you know, go facing this. They kind of just like, you know, play the bystander effect in a sense. So I didn't really feel like intervention was really had until it became something bigger or something as, you know, authorities viewed or deemed as violence. So I
mm,
wouldn't really say like intervention was really done in a proper manner that I would approve of, or like any person who works in domestic violence will approve of now.
hmm hmm. What do you find protective about the Black community, and where do you think we could continue to grow in terms of supporting survivors?
protected in a sense that I feel like we're per I've and women of color in particularly, I feel like we're protected in a sense like by the older generation from like patrolling what we're wearing, patrolling like when we come home or like patrolling, safety measures I feel like for the most part, um we're protected in the sense like, you know, I wouldn't say protected, I would actually say patrolled in the sense like we don't our family doesn't want to see us as like don't want us to be sexualized, which is a very reasonable and an understanding thing. But at the same time, it's also like why I have to be like, punished for something
Yeah.
that, you know, other people view me as or other people want to view me as. But in a sense, it's just like, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, no. I think because I was just talking to Tanji about that, and we were saying how a lot of times, parents or older folks in older generations, they do want to protect their children. So they will try to set up like sometimes very strict guidelines for what the girls and the kids have to follow, but it does feel like a punishment for the people, that's being imposed on. So like I talked about how at 8 years old, I was pretty physically developed for my age. And so, on one hand, people were trying to be protective by saying, like, don't wear this, don't go out at this time, whatever. And at the same time, it felt like a punishment because I'm just here living in my body and wanting to navigate community and society and being told, like, this is who you are. And so, I think to your point, like, there is a lot of patrolling that happens even when there's good intention. So that's still definitely an area of growth. And on the flip side of that coin too, it very much is protective in that folks are engaged. Folks are sometimes in your business. Aunties are like gonna pull you up at times, right? And so there are a lot of protective factors and a lot of factors that can still be harmful, for
Yeah.
teens for sure. Yeah.
And then the harmful aspect of that is just like I feel like as we grow up, we have this certain type of like um perception. I feel like it could affect everybody if like I was never told to explore. I was taught to like never really explore this. So like now that I am exploring this, I don't really necessarily know how to approach it in a proper way. Some people don't even feel comfortable asking certain questions when it's involving dating or sex or whatever the case
Hmm.
may be because it's just like it was never a norm or appropriate to talk about while growing up. So essentially, sometimes it could be detrimental because you go into the world not really knowing how to navigate those type
Hmm.
of aspects of life because it was never really introduced to you. So
Yeah.
I feel like give allowing young girls a space to like be protected but also have open and honest discussions about these things as well.
Hmm. And I think that's the piece that gets lost a lot of time for people of like, you can be protective and you can be fully invested and still give grace and still give education without shame, things like that. Yeah. What does meaningful mentorship look like to you?
Oh, I love this question. I feel like I had such meaningful mentorship growing up. I feel like that's something I did not like growing up. I always had groups and organizations and mentors as I got older. One of the first groups I remember joining was this group called Girls on a Run. Girls on a Run is an organization that basically meant for young girls to find mentorship as well as exercise and build like a healthy lifestyle. So I feel like it was like a healthy balance to like, have somebody to talk to and also support you through something like a journey that you're about to go on. Our journey in particularly was a 5K run.
Mm.
And just like helping us through the process of that as well. When I got older, I was a part of another mentorship program where they partnered Verizon workers with local elementary school students, and we always used to meet in the library. And I remember some of the questions that, because I was one of those kids that were sheltered and I didn't really always feel comfortable asking my mom certain questions. So I remember going to after school and like having questions, and those questions were able to be answered for me.
Hmm.
And I just felt like a space of connection and gathering. And then also one last program I have to mention because I love them too. It's called WES. I think it was originated from a NYU student. It's called Woman of Excellence. It stands for Woman of Excellence, Strength, and Tenacity. We learn about advocacy, periods, lifestyle, everything in between. So mentorship, proper mentorship looks like attentiveness, showing up, being involved, uh,
Hmm.
hearing your mentees' needs and and properly talking to them about their needs and like making sure like they're heard, they're understood, and like giving them the resources they need to like be the person that they want to become.
Thank you for that. So we had some really, really great conversations down in Charleston when we were down there for our youth and engagement advisory group meeting. How do you think some of those conversations that we had will impact your future work in domestic and dating violence?
I feel like it will impact my future work by just, you know, the saying when you know, you teach. So everything that I've learned and absorbed in the Charleston program, I will continue to give to the next generation as well, implement it in my daily life in advocating. So whether it's like, you know, whether it's comes to like conversations about coercion or sexual violence or the signs of a domestic relationship, or just properly hearing the needs of um the victim or survivor in that case scenario, just hearing their needs, not hearing their needs, but hearing them in general and being able to best assist them. The tools that I've gained in Charleston will help me for a very, very long time.
That's great. And speaking of, sexual coercion and dating violence, specifically on college campuses, what do you want survivors to know about that aspect of like sexual coercion and dating violence showing up on campus for them? What do you want them to know?
In any type of capacity, whether it's in a romantic, platonic situation, if something feels wrong, if something feels unsteady within you, it's always okay to pause and take a beat. And also, it's when something feels when the world feels heavier, something feels heavy in your heart, and you need somebody to talk to, please rely on somebody, whether it's your local counselors, whether it's your friends, or whether it's your community. Always, always, always feel like you have a voice, and always feel like you can use it to reach out to people if you need further help.
Hmm. And final question, what is one hope that you have for the future?
Um, but just more compassion, more attentiveness into ourselves and the world and the people around us. Um, because when we're attentive and we listen, we're able to catch things. So just everybody, please, like, just always take a step out of yourself to look at the world around you, your community, your people, because you never know when they could need you.
Hmm. And before we go, how can folks stay connected with you?
Follow my LinkedIn, guys. No, I'm kidding. No, for real. My LinkedIn, Ruth Garcia. You should see a chocolate face like mine's, and then I will really appreciate that. You guys can follow me on Instagram. Is that appropriate?
Yeah.
Um, Ruthie Fabiola is my at name, and this is not the first nor last time you'll be seeing me. And thank you so much, Ayana, for bringing me on.
Of course. Thank you so much for joining us. This was a really great conversation. And definitely check out the panel that Ruth was part of earlier in the week with some other great panelists talking about teen dating violence awareness and really how it impacts our community. Folks, stay connected for upcoming Ujima talks, webinars, coffee and convos, and we'll be sure to see you soon. Thanks again.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.